you want to sit, if you want to get comfortable. Okay.
Loud, please.
Here, okay. A 25-year-old black man suffered 46 wounds, according to an autopsy report, when police officers fatally shot him following a high-speed chase during which the man allegedly fired a gun out the driver's side window, authorities said. 26 bullets were removed from his body. Jayland Walker was unarmed at the time he was killed. Though a gun was recovered from his car after the shooting, Akron, Ohio Police Chief Stephen Mylett said at a news conference Sunday, when police released large portions of body camera videos from 13 officers who were at the scene, prompting more questions about Walker's death on June 27th. The shooting remains under investigation by the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigations. According to Mylett, 8 police officers fired their weapons following the vehicle pursuit and a short foot chase, believing Walker was turning towards them, reaching toward his waist, and moving into a firing position. The incident began about 12:30 a.m. When police say Walker fled as officers attempted to initiate a traffic stop, as usual, for traffic and equipment violations. About 40 seconds after the pursuit began, police say a gunshot was fired from Walker's vehicle. That changes the whole nature of the traffic stop, Mylett said Sunday. It went from being a routine traffic stop to now a public safety issue. And then the pursuit continued. After several minutes, Walker got out of his car and fled on foot, police said. Officers deployed tasers, Mylett said, but they were unsuccessful in subduing Walker. The incident ended soon after when, according to a police timeline, Walker, quote, stopped and quickly turned toward the officers, unquote, and officers discharged their weapons. At least one officer can be heard near the end of videos that were released shouting, "Cease fire." The 8 officers who Mylett said were directly involved in the shooting have all been placed on paid administrative leave per department policy. According to information released by the city, 7 of the officers are white and 1 is black. The video is, quote, something that should never ever have to be seen, Ken Obama, an attorney for the Walker's family, said at a separate news conference. Each time I've watched the video, it's gotten worse for me, Obama said. Every movement that I see, every shot that I heard, and every time I see Jayland lying on the ground just gets more and more horrific. The video released by police includes footage from the body-worn cameras of 13 officers who were on the scene. Walker died from multiple shotgun wounds to the face, abdomen, and upper legs. The journal, the Akron Beacon Journal, which was allowed to review an investigative worksheet at the medical examiner's office, said it, quote, indicated that Walker was observed laying on his back, this is important, laying on his back and was in handcuffs when a medical examiner arrived at the scene. A handgun and loaded magazine were found in Walker's car after the shooting, police said, along with a gold ring. Quote, when I first heard, I was just shocked, just total shock, said Robert Hubbard. It made no sense to me knowing the gentleman I knew, the young wrestler I knew since he was about 8 or 9 years old. It just made no sense. Hubbard is a high school wrestling coach in Akron, Ohio, and is still processing the death of 25-year-old Jayland Walker, shot by police dozens of times after a traffic stop on June 27th. Police video shows a stream of gunshots following a chase with 8 officers. The released footage sparked protests in downtown Akron as Walker became the latest symbol of outrage over black deaths at the hand of law enforcement. But Hubbard will remember Walker as, quote, one of the sweetest kids. He coached him as a young wrestler for years. One of the kids, you know, I wish I had 10 of them on my team. That was the type of kid he was. His father brought him to a youth wrestling team he had, and eventually I got him in high school. And he was a kid that I never had any problems from. I had some kids that have tested me and pushed me. Jayland Walker was not one of those kids. Hubbard said police video of the shooting was too traumatic for him to watch in its entirety. But from what he could tell, Walker's behavior in trying to run from police was unusual. The Jayland, I know, that's totally out of character. I don't know. I understand he was going through some stuff. He just lost his fiancée in a terrible accident. She was killed in a really bad car accident just before this. Hubbard said he hoped that if someone he loves was ever in the same situation as Walker was with police, that they tried to assist, not harm. My wish is that they could get them the help, not be judge and jury, he said, but actually, if he needs to be arrested, get him arrested. That would be my wish, not to be afraid of him to the point that after putting 46 rounds in him, he still needs to be handcuffed. I'm not a police expert on protocol or anything, Hubbard said. Over these years, we've been talking about de-escalation. It seemed like there was no de-escalation, and once the car stopped, they were just on 100 as soon as they got out there. As the families say, it seems like you wouldn't treat an animal that way. It was heartbreaking. Hubbard wants to know why the officers didn't see someone in need rather than a threat.
Don't you love her?
I think at worst, Jayland might have needed some help, he said. If they had handled it differently, if they had, subdued him and got him in, they probably could have gotten him some help. This is somebody that has not hurt anybody. This week, President Joe Biden made brief remarks about the shooting of Walker. This week, meaning right after it happened. Saying that the Justice Department Civil Rights Division and the local U.S. Attorney's Office was closely monitoring what had happened. He also said the FBI was coordinating with state and local partners. If the evidence reveals potential violations of federal criminal statutes, the Justice Department will take appropriate action, Biden said. When asked what he thinks justice would look like here, Hubbard said he hadn't thought of that. He was still trying to process the loss of the person he knew and loved. But he knows one thing. What I want is for nobody else to have to lose a loved one the way Jayland's family lost him. Walker's family wants him to be remembered as a fun-loving young man who was full of life, said Robert DeJournette, a relative and the pastor of St. Ashworth Temple Church of God in Christ. We're God-fearing folk who believe in God, and we want to exemplify that even in this process, DeJournette told CNN, we don't want any rioting or anything like that. The family hopes the shooting will lead to change, DeJournette said. We want to take that and we want to use it for the benefit of systemic change. We want to be treated like human beings, black men, young men. They're afraid when it comes to police. That shouldn't be. When the family wants answers from police, they also want the public to give peace, give dignity, and give justice a chance for Jayland. Attorneys for Walker's family said after police released the footage. Walker had never broken the law a day in his life. No crimes of any kind, Bobby DiCello, another family lawyer, said. Walker's behavior Monday would be indicative of some distress, some fear, something that he was going through, DiCello said. The Summit County Medical Examiner's report on Jayland Walker's death confirms the violent and unnecessary use of force by the Akron Police Department on an unarmed young man who, as the family expected, was not under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Jayland suffered 46 gunshot wounds to his body, and that he suffered this way is horrific. The fact that after being hit nearly 4 dozen times, officers still handcuffed him while he lay motionless and bleeding on the ground is absolutely inhumane. The family is devastated by the findings of the report and still await a public apology from the police department. That was their lawyer. In the week since the shooting, Akron, a city of about 200,000 people in northeastern Ohio, has been roiled by protests. City leaders have imposed a nightly curfew in an attempt to keep the peace. They canceled a July 4th celebration and declared Wednesday, I guess following July 4th, a day of mourning. Mr. Walker's family and supporters have called on protesters to demonstrate peacefully, even as they have decried violence by the police. We are hurting, hurting as a city and hurting as a family, the Reverend Robert D. Jernett said at a news briefing on Monday. Not having protest violence is a two-way street. The protesters need to be nonviolent, but that goes for law enforcement as well. The Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation is investigating the shooting, and its findings will be turned over to county prosecutors to present evidence to a grand jury to determine if any officers will be charged criminally. Akron police are also conducting an internal investigation to determine if officers followed procedures, including the department's pursuit policy. Okay, so let's have